will be your host and guide this evening. We also have Cody on the line, just in case anything goes wrong. Emad is presenting installing and configuring the vCenter Server Appliance, yes, you can shorten that, and Platform Services Controller. I think that's a pretty good idea of what you're doing tonight, but if you want to give us a short description, let her rip.
I think you said it all. I mean, really, we're just going to go over what's new in vSphere 6 in regarding to the vCenter appliance, and we will do some demos, and hopefully they go the way I hope they do.
I faxed the demo god, so I hope they got it. I hope everything goes well.
You're on a fax kick tonight.
Yeah, I have no explanation, so I offer no apologies. Two things before we start. Check out this super nifty intro slide. You get in on the conversation on Twitter. Tweet us at our hashtag vBrownbag. Some of the other brown bags that we have going on around the world, and their schedules there. A few other things. Our EMEA team is looking for some presenters to discuss Blueprint Objectives 7 and up for the VCP6 Cloud exam. So if anybody is feeling like they want to be awesome and present on some Blueprint items for VCP6 Cloud, let us know. In addition, the US show is also looking for some OpenStack or AWS presenters for a Tuesday show reboot. So if you're interested, let us know, and we'll work with you to get it scheduled. I would imagine you could contact any one of us on the vBrownbag team, or hit the hashtag, or hit @vBrownbag, and we'll get it figured out from there. What else I got? I think that's it. As always, send us any messages you have in chat, and I will interrupt at the most inconvenient times and try to get those answered for you. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Awesome.
You are live.
Uh-oh. I am now officially dangerous. Okay, so we want to show, we're going to do this guy. So can you see my presentation?
Yes. Yep, I got it.
Awesome. Whoa. There we go.
We got
All
a
right.
dual
I
screen.
actually see both of your screens.
We can see both.
You can see both of my screens.
Yep.
All right.
I don't know. Well, now I've got a. There we go. Kinda, maybe.
Now we see one. Now we see two.
Really? All right.
Yep.
Let's do this. Bear with me.
If you just want to roll it straight from within PowerPoint, that's fine too.
Okay. So like this is okay?
Yeah.
Here, let's
fine.
do this.
I can read it.
That's big enough for me. I don't know. Works.
How's that?
Oh my gosh.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Fixed it.
Okay. So now that we've gotten this far, tonight's agenda is we're going to be discussing what's new, and we're going to look at the deployment types. We will attempt some demos and take a look at the various size options in regards to the vCenter appliance, and talk about Windows versus the appliance, and if there's time, we will throw in some other topics. So with that, just a little bit about me. My name is Emad Younis. I blog at emadyounis.com. Find me on Twitter at Emad_Younis, and just a few other accolades that I have. Okay, so what's new? The first thing you're going to notice when you go out to download the appliance is there is no longer an OVA or OVF, right? It is now a downloadable ISO. The OVF is actually kind of still there. The reason, my understanding for the ISO is due to the advanced properties that are being used. So now it's with the OVF, so now we're going to be using an ISO instead. You can still try to use the OVF, but it's a lot harder to deploy, so it's recommended to use the ISO. So that's the way we're going to go going forward. There is two deployment types, guided and scripted. The guided is basically a GUI, just questions and next, next, next. The scripted are based on templates, and there are 5 templates out there. You can actually use those or create your own or customize what's already out there, and one of the demos is we're going to be looking at the scripted. The other is the guided, so stay tuned for those. IPv6 is now supported. Enhanced link mode is also supported on the appliance, and that's actually by default now with the Platform Services Controller, and we'll go over that in a little bit as well as we dive into that. BDP support for backup and recovery. Now, that's really if you're going to be using an embedded Platform Services Controller and vCenter all together in one VM, you can use those or a third-party backup utility of your choosing. There's also 4 deployment sizes: tiny, small, medium, and large. I don't know why they started with tiny. I think people get a little chuckle every time we say that, but we I just looked over at Twitter and I got a little chuckle. So those are the 4 different sizes. There is a DCUI this go around, so direct console user interface is now available with the vCenter appliance, and feature set parity with the Windows vCenter, so everybody can now rejoice, right? There is no reason why you should not be using or at least considering using the vCenter appliance for your deployments. So, Platform Services Controller. What is it, right? This is new with vSphere 6. SSO did not go away. As a matter of fact, it is part of the Platform Services Controller, or the PSC. So what VMware did was bundle a group of services, SSO, certificate management, and licensing, which used to be part of vCenter, and now that makes up the core group of services for the Platform Services Controller. Now, on the other side, you have what's called the management node, or it's really vCenter, and in there you have other services such as your dump collector, your auto deploy, your web client, your profile-driven storage, things of that nature. So think of them as just group services together. And if you look, VMware's got on their site a list of what services go where, and what I did was I just created a small Excel doc and grouped the services together. So I don't know if you guys can see it clearly, but I ordered them in reference to here's the ones in vCenter, here's the one for the PSC, and the ones in yellow are for both. This kind of goes over a little bit of what I was talking about earlier, when they're trying to group all the services together, so that way the PSC will be aware of what applications you have in your vSphere infrastructure. So for example, if you have, and again, this is an old slide that I found, so if you have, vRealize Automation, vRealize Orchestrator, vRops, vCenter, it's to go out there and collect that metadata and figure out what you have installed. So, platform services deployments, you have 2 different types of deployments. You have what's embedded and external. So embedded, it's as the title says, it's within the same VM as vCenter. External, of course, you can have as its own VM or own server. Now, with the PSC, you can actually load balance the boxes for high availability. Right now, the current load balancing that you can use are NSX, NetScaler, and F5. So deployment, these are kind of the different deployments. So you have your embedded, which again is your platform services controller and vCenter on the same box. Your external, where you have your platform services controller and two vCenters or one vCenter, but anything it's outside of the vCenter server. And you have your high available PSC, which basically you see your load balancer and two platform services controller up top, and your vCenters below the load balancer. Now, one good thing about this is you can actually have mixed platforms. So you can have a Windows virtual center and a appliance virtual center, and you can link them together. You can have them in this type of deployment. It doesn't matter. You can mix and match with your choosing. Link mode supports up to 10. Now, automatically with the platform services controller, link mode is enabled as soon as you add another vCenter to the same SSO domain. Now, before we used to have to go into vCenter, and it was only supported on the Windows side, so we would have to go in and click and to add the vCenter to another vCenter and link them together. Now it's by default, as long as you join to the same platform services controller on the same SSO domain.
Right. So can I still have everything native Windows, or do I have to start sprinkling in the vApps, or?
As far as what you have today, or?
I really don't know. I have no more context to the question than that.
So if you have a current Windows vCenter server and you upgrade it to 6, at that point you can actually bring in another Windows vCenter server or you can bring in your appliance. You can mix and match whatever combination you want, but you have up to 10 vCenters that could link up, and as long as you're on the same SSO domain.
Okay, so it can be native Windows or all vApp or
yes.
some mixture thereof. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think that answers it.
Okay. Okay, so did that help everybody kind of understand the platform services controller, the PSC, or we good to move on?
I think so. Good here. I haven't seen anything else yet.
Okay. Maybe I've put them all to sleep right now.
We should screw something up. They always tend to wake up there. So
don't worry, demo's coming. So that will that will definitely happen. So the vCenter deployments. As I said before, you have guided and scripted, right? So no more VMI, right? When we deployed the older appliances, we had to go in after with the deployment into the VMI and do all the configuration. That's not the case here. With the guided, there's basically questions that you answer. You put in your IP address, the name, the data store, and you'll see this in the demo. And once you hit finish, it goes out, does the deployment, and voila, you log into the web client. So the VMI is gone from the appliance this go around. There is support for Postgres as an internal database, and Oracle is the external database. There is no support for SQL. From my understanding, it's due to the ODBC support from Microsoft. I believe the drivers are there, but Microsoft doesn't support it. so VMware can't support it. But the Postgres, the internal Postgres is basically, it will support a large environment. So really, unless you have a DBA that really wants to manage that database, I don't see a reason why you wouldn't want to keep it simple and just deploy an internal Postgres database. Once you deploy a PSC, it can't be changed. So let's say I deploy an internal, I can't go later and change it. Now, things to keep in mind: it's not recommended to link two embedded PSC configurations together, right? The VMware does not recommend it. You can do it, but it's not recommended. So if before you deploy, think about the growth of your environment, the applications that you'll have, things like that. It's probably best to go ahead and deploy an external one, which will save you time later versus going and deploying the embedded and having to go back and redeploy and shut everything down and migrate. So take that for what it's worth. So, demo time.
So I think we had a couple of questions come up. I don't know if we got to them or not, so I'm just going to
Sure.
go ahead and shoot them out. The first one, which is probably more current, is so Postgres on Windows, is that an option?
As far as I know, not for vCenter. I'll have to get clarification, but I do know that for this go around on Windows, there is no SQL Express bundled in there. So I think they've made that change, but I haven't dived into the Windows side yet. So I'll get an answer for that.
Okay. And then the next one is, can a current multi-site SSO be upgraded in place with the PSC? And I don't know if that one's been gotten. Okay.
Yes. So cool. As long as I know it's 5.5 and I believe 5.1. There's an update, and I'll link some notes to the show notes. But you can actually upgrade and think of it just like you did before, right? We had to, when we went from 5.1 to 5.5, we had to upgrade SSO first, right? So when we go to 5.5 or 5.1 to 6, that's the first thing we're going to do. We're going to upgrade SSO, but now SSO is going to come into play into the Platform Services Controller. Is that?
Thanks for filling in, Cody.
I think that clears it up.
Yeah, my questions weren't showing up here, so I wasn't seeing anything rolling in, but I see them now, so thanks for jumping in.
Okay, can you guys see my screen?
I see a big giant demo time.
Demo time, okay. Let me see what I can do to get this to...
So what you're going to do is you're going to click on the top of the console window and drag it across to the...
Why does it say my screen is paused?
Didn't pause it. Not my fault.
Did you try unpausing it?
I did unpause it.
Is there a pause button?
Have you rebooted twice?
I've even clicked my heels twice.
The demo gods are with us tonight.
They obviously didn't get my fax.
They did not.
All right, nobody is presenting.
No one is presenting. Yay! Why does
this is the GoToWebinar method of like rebooting, or the GoToWebinar equivalent of rebooting. Like we just drop it off and there. See, now it's back up. Demo time, and it's totally not going to work.
All right.
It's all right.
Let me do this.
I once had an OpenStack Summit presentation and counted on there being Wi-Fi. It it was a demo, not a demo, but a hands-on introduction to like Cinder with the Rackspace private cloud stuff and Neutron and a few other things mixed in there. And they gave me a 3-hour window and no Wi-Fi with which to make this work. Oh, here we are. Are we?
Yes.
Basically, I had to ad-lib for 2.5 hours because nothing worked.
Hey,
But
we had
your
William
demo
Lamb
is,
chime in.
better. Yep.
We had William Lamb chime in on a question. He said, for embedded Windows VC question, vPostgres is now the default DB, and Microsoft SQL Express is no longer used. For upgrades, the underlying database will be upgraded to vPostgres.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, that is badass.
Thank you,
That
Mr.
is
Both
really
the answer
cool.
to the question
Thank
and
you.
like William Lamb is on my podcast. Holy crap.
Yeah, I'm kind of panicking right now.
He should be the guy. He should be on here too. Okay, so the first demo that we're going to do is we're going to actually show the deployment of the guided install. Okay, so what I've done is I've mounted the ISO for the vCenter appliance, and before we actually go through the install, what I wanted to show was in the VCSA directory, there is a client integration plugin. You need to install that. If you do not, it's going to harp and gripe later on. So at some point, make sure you install the client integration plugin. Inside the CLI installer, you're going to see at least 3 different OS directories, Linux, Mac, and Windows, and then the templates directory. Now this I'll show later on, but I just wanted to make this known that this is where you're going to go to use the templates in a scripted deployment manner. So to get started with the guided install, we're going to just double click on the VCSA setup. It's going to do this little countdown. As you can see, it's already asking for the client integration plugin, which I already have installed. And since this is a new deployment, we are going to click install. We're going to accept the EULA. Click next. And we are going to put in the IP or name of an ESX host. So ESXi02 sounds okay to me. Fully qualified name. The username, we're going to use root. And the password, if I can type. And one thing about the guided install, it actually verifies as you go through it, and it has these little helpers over to the right-hand side. So if you have any kind of question or anything, you may want to click over here to figure out, what the requirements are. We're going to click next, and it's going to validate that I have entered in the right information. We are going to accept the cert warning. Okay, we are going to give this an appliance name. So I think if I wrote this down right, for guided, I'm actually going to use Luke. Let's see if this is going to work. And the password that we're going to put in. Now this is the new password for the appliance, so it automatically knows that your username is going to be root, and this is the password that we're going to confirm. And if you click over here, it's going to tell you the requirements of the password. So no more than 20 characters, 1 uppercase, lowercase, number, some special characters. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this right now. just give that. Okay, so here are the deployment types you get to choose. So embedded, as we discussed, and it gives you a nice little picture over here on the right-hand side, right? Your platform services controller and your vCenter server all on one box. Or if we wanted to, we could select to install a platform services controller on its own, external. And if we did that, we would go through the wizard, come back, launch the same deployment, and once we get here, we would install vCenter, because you can see right beside it says requires external platform services controller. So that's the way if you were going to install an external versus an embedded services controller. But for this demo, we are going to do an embedded, and we're going to create a new SSO domain, and I'm going to put in my super secret password of 12345. Just joking. Okay, so the SSO domain.
That's the same password I have on my luggage.
The SSO domain, we used to have to use at vSphere.local. What we can do now is you can actually use something else as long as it's not the same as your LDAP domain. So for example, my lab, the LDAP domain is Younis.lab. So for this, if I wanted to, I can actually use Younis.local, and you wouldn't have any conflicts there. But if I used Younis.lab, then there could be some issues later on down the road. I see a question on Twitter. Yeah, I have Twitter open. I'm bad about that. Any password character gotchas? Not that I'm aware of. I've just been going by the help over here, Sean, and I haven't had any issues as long as I've used everything that's in here. So I haven't run across any gotchas as of yet. The site name.
I'm going to steamroll you, Holmes.
Sure, no worries.
So William Lamb chimed in again. Wow, I can't talk. I'm trying to read it verbatim, and my head was getting ahead of my mouth there. The guided install contains deployment and upgrade validation code, and that is why the VCSA is no longer just an OVA, but it includes other tools and libraries like scripted installations, which again provides the validation. In general, this is supposed to provide a better user experience. It's supposed to bundle a CIP and OVF tool, which is actually really handy because finding an OVF tool download before, at least for me, had been a pain. So it's no longer a separate download. You have everything you need in that one deployment thing versus in the past where it was a bunch of different downloads. That was it.
No, thanks. I'm glad William is chiming in. So now we're at the site name, and just same thing as you would when we did the 5.5. For this one, I'm just going to put Houston as my site name. We're going to click next, and it's going to go through the validation. Now, appliance size. You have tiny, small, medium, large, and it actually shows you what number of hosts and number of VMs support. If you decide to, let's say, select tiny, and later on down the road you need to increase, it's doable. You can actually, I believe hot add and hot plug is supported on the appliance, so if you configure it that way, you can just increase your memory and CPU. If you do not configure it that way, then you just have to shut down your appliance, use the VI client to go to the host that the appliance is on, increase memory and CPU, and fire it back up, and you are at the tier that you want it to be. So it's that simple. We're going to select Tiny. And we're going to select a data store. Now here you can enable thin disk mode if you want, and it even tells you, what thin provisioning is. Again, the embedded vPostgres database, or you can use an external Oracle database, where, of course, this is a lab, so we're just going to use the embedded. We're going to select our VM network. I'm just going to leave the default for now. The type of IP address family, so we're doing IPv4. This is going to be static, and we will enter an IP of that. And this is going to be...
So, question on sizing while you're filling this out.
Sure.
When you select the tiny size and then you decide later that Gersh, this vSphere environment is going like that latest cat video on YouTube and you need to scale it up, do you have to go back in and retroactively muck around with the Java heap memory sizes, or is that handled for you? Have you gotten that deep yet?
I haven't. From the appliance perspective, all you have to do is go in and do the increase, and there's nothing you have to do as far as Java or anything like that in regards to the appliance. Now, I'm not sure if that is a requirement on the Windows side or not.
Okay.
But that's a good point. I haven't really messed around with the Windows vCenter. I've actually been more focused on the appliance since it's parity to Windows, and why would you want to one less Windows license, and it's Windows, right? So so I've got my IP addresses, I've got all my information in here. You can synchronize your time with ESX, your ESXi hosts, or you can use an NTP server if you want, and you can enable SSH to the appliance. So for this, I'm just going to put in my information, and we're going to click Next. And now it's just basically validate that all your information is correct, hit Finish, and now you watch, it goes through an initialization process, then it starts deploying, and once it's done, it's going to come back and say, here's the link, and here's the account that you should use to log in. This takes roughly about 20 minutes or so with my experience. I haven't seen anything faster, so for right now, I'm just going to kind of put this off on the side because I don't think we want to sit here and watch this for 20 minutes. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the slides, and we'll come back to this later on. So it's a good segue. As we said before, there's 4 different sizes.
I'm going to steamroll you here for a second, too. William's chiming in with some more info. He's got on
He's saving my bacon.
He is, yeah. He's got some links about increasing, VCSA sizes, and he's got a link. I can put it in the all chat, and we're throwing it up on Twitter. But also, not just the Java heap size, but you can increase the disk capacity. LVM is now used, so you can resize a disk while it's running, which is awesome because I've run into this a lot of times where environments grew too much or logs blew up because of a bug or something, and you got to shut vCenter down and expand it and move it, and so that's
actually one of my, it's one of my points right here,
Dang
and
it.
it's it's a demo. If we have time, I was gonna show that, but no, I appreciate it. We should actually bring William on if he's willing to hop on. I think that would be great.
He
If
just
you're
said,
listening,
or he said earlier, Chad, for now he's got baby duties, but he is piping in the questions, so we'll relay as we can.
Awesome. I appreciate it. I'm learning too. I mean, this is all, I've used this since beta, but it kind of changed from the beta to GA, and there's a lot of cool features, and of course William knows what's going on under the covers, so this is great. So I appreciate him chiming in. So you can change the deployment later, like we said. Now, one thing you'll notice once it's deployed is there's 11 VMDKs, right? Versus 2 from the 5.5, right? And it's my understanding that this is to help if later on you want to, let's say, increase one of the disks, or maybe use something like a storage policy, or maybe any kind of QoS on a disk. You have that flexibility versus having to do an all or nothing. And it also allows you to go through and increase individual disk size as needed, so your logs, your database, things like that can actually be individually increased, and it can actually be done on the fly, just like William mentioned. LVM is now supported, so you don't have to do much except run a few commands, and then you're good to go. Oh, there we go. All right, so we're going to go through and do another fun demo. Yay, and it's actually still it's now deploying. So what we're going to do, okay, I have my command prompt open. So what I did, where it happened to my, there we go, okay. Oof, thought I lost it. So what I did was I created a directory here, and I copied one of the templates. So I copied the embedded example, but I'll show you the rest. So under here, under the CI installer, under templates, you have 5 different deployment types, right? And each one gives you an example and of what the deployment is going to be. So this one is going to deploy vCenter with an embedded platform services controller, and it goes through and has deployment. It has the VCSA and the configurations underneath, right? So these deployment options are actually within the help. So if we go to, let's see, okay, so now I'm kind of nervous because William's, he's watching, so.
If it helps, his last message was "Gotta run for a bit, baby crying." So you're good.
Okay, all right. So
you're good for now. I'll let you know when he comes back, though. I'll give you the heads up, and then you guys stop screwing up.
No worries, no worries. So we're gonna go here and we're gonna do the Win32, right? And that's back to these directories that you see here, right? So if we're using Windows, we want to point to the VCSA deploy under Windows. If we're using Mac, we're going to do the same thing here and the same thing for Linux, right? So each corresponding operating system has its own deploy binary. So in the case of Windows, we're going to do that. And then we're going to do the VCSA-deploy. and we're going to do -help, and the system could not find, oh, it would help if I took away CD. There we go. Okay. So here are all the help options that are associated with the deployment type. But if we wanted to dig deeper and look at the templates, you would just do a --template -h or -help, and this is what you actually see within those files, right? And it's broken down into different sections, and if we scroll up a little bit here, we're going to see that there's networking, and underneath networking you can take things like, you know, IP address, DNS servers, system name, and whatnot. One thing to note, with DNS servers, you want to only use one or the deployment craps out. I'm not sure if that's a bug or not, and that's probably a good question for William, but you need to use one for now, and then later on, once the appliance is up and running, you can go in and add any extra DNS servers you have in your environment. So, you know, you have your system, which is a list of parameters from the vCenter single sign-on, that's SSO. You have, you know, for the vCenter appliance. Scroll down a little bit. We have database. Then we have deployment types. All that. So that's what's going to help you within the template options. So in order to save a little bit of time, I kind of cheated a little bit. So sorry. And what I did was I created one. And I thought Frappier was going to be hosting, so hence why my names are Luke and Vader. I was messing with him, so that's why the names. Otherwise, I don't really care.
Is Frappier a big Star Trek fan then?
He's a big Star Wars fan. Don't say Star Trek. Yeah, don't say that. He will. If he's listening, he's probably going to tear you a new one.
Twitch.
So, pretty much.
Live long and prosper, Scotty.
Yeah. So one thing also to mention is that these files are JSON files, if you haven't noticed from the extension, and that makes them really easy to read and to edit from my opinion. I mean, that's basically makes it really simple to use. So what I did was I created this one. It's based off the embedded, and what I did was I added networking. Right? I wanted to basically have this thing IP itself once it went through the deployment process and fire up. Right? So to deploy it, and you can deploy this from a command line, or you can use PowerShell, whatever you wish to choose, right? So what we're going to do here is we're going to basically go back and point to the VCSA deploy, and then we're going to point it to our template, and I believe I have that under VSC, and I think I called it Vader-deploy and .json, and we are going to hit enter, and it's going to go through and do its wonderful magic. This process, believe it or not, took me roughly about 15 minutes every time I ran through it. I like this way better. For me, it gives you more flexibility, especially in an environment where you're going to be deploying multiples, especially if you're going to, let's say, do like, 2 platform services controllers, multiple vCenter servers. It's consistent, so you don't have to worry about did I mess up when I was entering that IP address or anything like that. And this is something that you can maybe give like a junior guy and have him or her run it and you don't have to babysit it. So it's going to go through the process, and I can even show you if I can bring up my, let's see, where did I, thought I minimized it, but apparently I shut it down. So hopefully I remember my password. You can see from the background it's actually going through now and installing services. Yeah. Okay, so you see that Luke was the first one that we deployed, the guided, and Vader is the scripted. So it's already there and they're powered on, and I'll show you Vader. He's going through and basically doing its thing, installing the services right now. It's at 69%, and let me scroll, there we go. And if we look at Luke, he's in the same place. So it is actually a race to the finish. Maybe Luke may have won. There we go. Woo! So it's going through now.
I was gonna say we should have some pretty trendy music, you know, when it finished before I could even unmute. So.
Well, isn't that the host's job to do that?
Which host? There's at least two of us, and then like you are also a host.
Volunteered.
Sir. Yeah, I know.
Feel free.
Yeah, I can.
Find some elevator music.
So once it's finished, you're going to get this message. This is the guided install, right? So we're going back and forth. So you're going to get this message that tells you, hey, you know, now you can basically log into the web client. You know, basically, if you're not licensed, you have 60 days. And here's the account you use, right? So for me, the account is going to be the administrator, right, and since I decided not to use vSphere.local, I used Younis.local. That's what I'm going to use to log in. And one thing you'll notice is there is no more 9443, right? You don't need that anymore. It is aware of that port. So we can just click here, and even up here, here's the vCenter name, fully qualified, and / vSphere-client.
Can you pop that message back up again? I think I missed a part of it.
Let's see. There we go.
Yeah. So the part of this message I missed was that the Latin America brown bags are looking for Spanish-speaking presenters for the VCP network. So if you're in the audience, let one of us know. Sorry.
I think I'm a little confused. What did this have to do with?
Nothing. I was just making an opportunity to get it out there.
That was a classic misdirection. Well played.
Oh wow! Well played, sir. Well played. So we're now at the web client. We went through the process. We entered in some information, and now, you know, we're pretty much done. We can now start logging in and configuring our environment. Hopefully, I remember my password. See, I knew it. Administrate.
Weren't you just Younis.local, not vSphere. I think. There you go.
There we go. I think I fat fingered. All these people looking at my screen just makes me nervous.
We did have a
And
question come up about VCSA config done through the DCUI. Is that even still a thing?
yes, you can do it, but unfortunately, due to time, I did not get a chance to include that in my presentation, but I do plan to have a blog post around that, so stay tuned.
Okay.
So we are now in the web client, and as you can see, everything is visible. Now, one thing you'll notice is the it's Star Wars. You're going to get us in trouble. You notice that there's a system configuration, right? If we click on that, it's going to show us the number of nodes, and by nodes, we're talking vCenter servers, okay? So it shows our vCenter server, which is Luke for the guided, and the services that all correspond, right? Now, if we want to come over here to objects, and we can click on the services themselves, and it's going to show you the services that are running, that are stopped, their health status, their startup type, everything like that. So let's say, for example, we want to change the startup type. All we have to do is right-click and edit startup type, and we can change it from manual to automatic or disabled. So there you have it. I mean, there's not really much to it. The other thing that we could do is we can come in here, and there's a few settings. We can either enable local login, enable SSH. We can take a look at the network settings, DNS settings if we wanted to, and the firewall settings. There is an option to, and I have to remember where it is, where you can actually join this to the domain. And for some reason right now, of course it's going to happen. I don't see it. But it will come to me here in a second, I promise. I just did this the other day. But you can actually go in and join this guy to the domain from here. So I will show you that here in a few. Let's go back and take a look at our scripted. So our scripted now is going through and installing and starting the different services, and it is at 69% complete. So while that's going,
isn't that where it was a couple of minutes ago?
No, it finished doing its installation and then started configuring and starting the services. This process takes about 15 minutes, so it's not too bad. Like I said, I'm I'm a fan of the scripted install versus the guided, but both are simple and easy. Man, this is gonna bug me until I remember. It was here, and now it's not. It was under edit settings, and I'm wondering if it's interesting. I think I've lost it. Well, I will let's see. No, I'm logged in as the system administrator. I'm actually logged in as admin, so I should have full rights. If we go back and look at the permissions of said, you know what? I think yeah, I'm going faster than I should, but I'm pretty sure you can come in here and add add your identity source like you did with SSO and everything else. But you can actually add the appliance to the domain. And I know this is going to be just like Frappier, where as soon as the video closes, I'll see it. So, but what I wanted to show, due to time, is if we come in here and we click edit settings, here are the 11 VMDKs that you see, and each one has its own size and whatnot. So if we wanted to, and if you notice too, the CPU and memory, this is tiny, so 2 CPUs, 8 gigs of memory. If we wanted to change this, we either shut it down, increase it to the next tier of, I think it's like 4 and 16, and that will give us a small, or we can do hot add, hot plug, and that way we don't have to worry about that anymore. So let's
we had a I'm steamrolling now, sorry.
Sure.
we had 2 questions come up, I think. One was, are you going to demo join all the, hold on, I gotta expand that. I got all the vCenters, and I think you did that. The second one was, without much context, was SSO config ?
Oh, okay. So
that one happened. That one popped up about 2 minutes ago.
Okay, no worries. So once you have this up and running, you have to go back into SSO, and I'm assuming right now we're starting from scratch. So this is a brand new deployment, right? If it was an upgrade, then you would have some info here. But since this is brand new, I have to come back in like I did like we did, in 5.5, and come under configuration under SSO, and I would add my identity source, and then I would go in and add my users and groups and things like that. So
it turns out that it was actually a suggestion of where to look when you were looking for the AD joining.
No, I actually saw I believe it's Killian's message, but I'm actually logged in as administrator, right? And if you look, administrator is under the administrators group, so I have full privileges, but I know I'm missing something, and I've just had a long day today. It's been a crazy day. VMUG in the morning, and then this in the evening. So I totally apologize. I will take a screenshot and tweet it out. And like I said, it's going to happen as soon as the video cuts off. So what we should do is let's see, where's the scripted? Oh, okay. So the installer finished, okay? And the message you get from the scripted is, of course, a lot shorter than the guided, right? It just comes up and says, hey, here's your system name, and log in as the administrator account. So just to prove that this is working, we will ping Vader, and Vader pings, so we know that that's working, but I'm sure you want more proof. So what we will do is we will go to his URL for the web client, and there you have it. I mean, it's I don't remember administrator. I think this one is Death Star .planet. So you see, you don't have to stick with the default. I haven't really seen anything as far as the documentation from VMware that says you know, you shouldn't do this, but I think Apex, they said the only thing that I was aware of is do not use the same domain as your LDAP domain. So we're Invader, and it is the same thing. You see, one node, 19 services that are all there. And for the life of me, this is going to really bother me. I promise this this is
In which part are you looking for, Emad?
this is the to join it to the domain. It's here, and there's really not that many options here. I mean, you click, and yeah, it was one of these boxes, and now I can't find it. And it worked yesterday, and I know that that this would happen. That one of the during a demo it would happen. But I'll find it and I'll tweet it out.
In between refresh and actions, there's the paper with the blue icon. What does that guy do?
No, that's the export bundle. Yeah. It's like I said, it was just a quick one, and I'll find it. It's not a big deal. I just wanted to show that basically from here you can actually join it to the domain and put it in a corresponding OU if you have one, right? If not, then it will just go to your generic.
Someone might have an answer. They're saying left click Vader in the node list, and Manage tab will appear on the right.
There it is. Thank you.
Aha!
I knew
awesome.
I wasn't crazy.
Thank you, Rich.
Thank you. I knew I wasn't nuts. So here you can actually join it to the domain if you wanted to. So I think I have one. I can do like use.lab, and my OU, I think I have one called servers, and my super secret password. Press all the buttons.
You got to watch it now. William's back, so just don't screw anything up.
That's okay. I'm sure I won't be the first to mess anything up. I won't be the last, right? So it's joined to the domain, and there'll be just need to reboot after, but due to time, I'm not going to go.
So you don't have to do that in the 5480 console anymore. You do that right through here then.
Yep. Yeah.
Is that 5480? Does that exist anymore? Is that a thing?
So you're talking about the VEMI is gone. There's no more VEMI.
That's gone.
Yeah. So like I said, the guided, just a bunch of questions, answer them. It goes through and does everything. Then you just log into the web client, and the scripted, like you saw here, it goes through, does everything it needs to do, and then at the end it just prompts you and says, hey, here's your name, and here's your system name, login name, and you log into the web client as well. There's really nothing more to it, and there's really nothing within the system settings. There's really not much besides, changing some networks, some firewall settings, and if you want to get a little fancy, you can come in here, left click. I was right clicking, so I apologize for that. Please forgive me. And you can go under manage and change your Active Directory settings, and you have your cert authority and things like that, which I think there is going to be a series on security, so I'll leave that to whoever's presenting on that. So let's see what else. Whoa, that was loud. So one thing I wanted to to show is, let's see, I should be able to SSH to one of these guys. Hopefully, I think I turned him on. I wanted to talk about or show the increase of disk. I think people wanted to see that. I hope people wanted to see that. So let's see if I actually did turn it on. Yay! I did turn it on. So, whoa, is that like a gunfire or something like that?
I am
Oh,
not
have
hearing
Vader
what
on
you're
the line.
hearing.
It's a small burst of white noise every few seconds or so, every minute or so. At least I've heard it a couple of times. I thought somebody was just pretending to be Vader.
Oh, some other people are hearing it too.
Awesome. Okay, so now I'm in the shell, right? So we want to see what these disks look like. So the command you can run, you can do df -h, I believe, and there you go. It shows you the 11 disks, the size, the used, the available, percent, and it's mounted on. So the use case, I think there was a Twitter question a few days ago where I saw somebody asking, okay, so how do I know which disk is my database disk versus, my log disk? This is how you can tell. So if I wanted to increase the size, I can just go in here and basically do it from here. But I've actually already done it on one of the other boxes, and I'm actually at a point where I need to tear down my lab. So I will send out the instructions on how to do this, unless Mr. Lamb already has the instructions.
I don't know, but I do really enjoy conference calls where I'm not taking away any action items. Like, you are taking all of these, and that is outstanding.
Well, I mean...
And boom, there's the instructions in the chat.
Did William post them?
Yeah.
Okay, so there you have it. So from here, you can just increase them. And I actually have movers here wanting to take away my stuff. That's why I have to tear down my lab. So bad timing for me. That's really all I had. The only other thing that I wanted to kind of talk about was Windows versus the appliance. And as you can see, the appliance now is it has the same feature sets as Windows. I mean, there's no real reason to use Windows if you don't have to. VUM is the only thing that requires a separate box, but it's Power CLI support, which I think was already in 5.5. If you have you can run Power CLI commands against the vCenter appliance. SRM is compatible now with the SRM appliance, and you can see the VMs per cluster, the the hosts, all that it's all identical. So personally, I don't really see a reason why you wouldn't want to use the appliance. You have link mode now. It's all there. It's a parity feature. So I don't, again, unless somebody can, and I wouldn't even use, I'm not familiar with Linux as an excuse. I think you need to come out of your comfort level and try it. It's definitely an easier deployment. And yes.
William, for the last thing, William also posted a command you can run to auto grow and resize the database while it's running, which is awesome. Like I said, something I've run into. So we'll have to post all these, basically link to William's blog so everybody can take a look at everything we've talked about tonight. Which thanks for joining us.
So
this is awesome.
We tagged them all with at least I tagged them all with the Brownbag hashtag, so you should be able to pull them out for the show notes pretty easy. As a quick question or quick comment, anyways, Graham had said that the appliance will not run PowerShell scripts for alarms or so. Is that? I can imagine that's still true, but with
I haven't tested
I don't imagine
that with
it's going to be
6.
true forever.
Yeah, I haven't tested that with 6. That would probably be a William question.
Well, I was
Or
going to say Microsoft just open sourced Mono or .NET or in some variant of PowerShell as well for use on Linux. Like that was made news a couple weeks back, so I can't imagine it's going to be the state forever.
probably not. Maybe the next iteration or update, maybe.
Yep.
But
how would you back up and restore the how would you back up and restore the embedded database?
So if you have a completely embedded deployment, you can use PDP to basically back it up, or you can use any kind of Veeam or something like that once they support it. But if you have an external type of platform or external type of deployment, I should say, then you would have to back up your database in that fashion. But the embedded you can do as one big backup versus the external.
All right, so we did get a correction here, which is that scripts running in the VC are based on the underlying OS, which in VCSA is Linux, so you wouldn't be able to necessarily run PowerShell scripts. However, there's always a trick. You can kick off an SNMP trap over to a Windows box, or cause a remote execution on a Windows box.
That's for the alerts, right?
Yeah, for the alerts.
Right. Right, but you can run Power CLI against the appliance, though. I mean that is supported. Yes.
Yep. And here he is calling me out, or VCO, which is, well, somebody needs to update that book.
It's, from my understanding, it's being worked on.
Hooray! Finally.
So yeah, there you have it.
I wonder if we could bring William out into the open here and get him to say something about whether or not the open sourced PowerShell stuff for Linux will actually make it into a VCSA release in the near future. But I think we're just going to get a no comment on that one.
Well, it would just be nice to have him on. Period. He's been awesome this session. I kind of feel like I was just the demo person, but he's helped out a lot.
So it's good information all around.
It's my first time presenting, so a little nervous. So have a little mercy on me.
And then to have him show up, I'm sure that doesn't help.
Yeah, but hopefully, this was some good information and it helped. I had more, but I had to cut it down. I wasn't sure of time, and I didn't want to go over. But there's a lot of good information, and I plan to send some over so we can put these in the show notes. One thing I did want to show, if I can get my screen to show it, is this guy. This is a great KB article. It is 2108548, and this shows you all the recommended deployment topologies for vCenter and the Platform Services Controller. What I like about this is if you scroll down, they also give you what's not recommended. So this is definitely a good one to have bookmarked, and I will actually right now tweet the link.
And Dan Barr, I want to say VDan Barr because that's him on Twitter, did say that only the core.NET runtime has been open source, so not PowerShell entirely, but just the core.NET runtime has been open source. So not yet, maybe.
Okay. That's all I got. Hopefully it was helpful.
Cool. I don't have anything really for follow-up at the end of this. I guess we can stop recording unless, Cody, if you have anything that you want to share while we're on the record here.
I just wanted to call out the Latin America thing again when I'm not rudely interrupting, which is that our vBrownbag Latin America podcast is looking for Spanish-speaking presenters, specifically around VCP NSX. But if you have any material you'd like to present in Spanish, go ahead, let us know, and that would be outstanding.
What if I wanted to order food in Spanish? Can I do that? Is that possible?
I'm sure you could join the podcast and ask for some help, but good luck. Because I think the only thing in English on that podcast is the bumper letting you know this is the brown bag and we're switching to Spanish. Boom. So, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and cut recording.